Legal Talk Tuesday. Brooke and Laura here, and it is Halloween week, which, if you don't know me personally, is my favorite holiday, and I essentially start celebrating the day the kids go back to school. So it's finally here, and we're excited. So we're going to use today to do something a little spooky. Not really, but people don't like talking about it. But we're going to talk about something that people typically avoid every other day of the year, and that is death. So today we're going to talk about 6 things that you need to be doing before you die.
It's got exactly.
Not like it was necessary transition.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of the perfect time of year to have these conversations because Halloween, like Brooke said, is that time that we all kind of embrace the spooky and the scary and the creepy and the pretty princesses and everything. So let's just go ahead and dive in, because we as humans tend to not like to think about our mortality, and unfortunately it is just true that we will all die. So at some point, hopefully far in the future for everyone, including
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, we get to live forever. So, and if I happen to cough or something, Brooke's going to take over. I'm having a nice hot cup of coffee, but I'm also going to the doctor because I can't get over this cough that I got last week when we were traveling for a legal tech show. So number 1 out of 6 is gather all of your important contact information and documents. You need to know where things are and what you have, but more importantly than that, you need to let your family members know where things are and what you have. So the 2 things that are the most important to keep in the forefront of your mind when you're doing estate planning meaning planning for what is going to happen after you're gone. You need to make sure that things are as easy as possible on your loved ones, because they just lost you and they don't need to be going through all of the muck of stuff to try to figure out what to do with your bank accounts and all that kind of stuff, because they don't know where they are or how many places they are, what account numbers there are, what, the phone number of your financial advisor, all that kind of stuff. So you need to make sure that you're making it as easy as possible on your loved ones. You also need to make sure that your things, and if you have kids, that your children go where you want them to go. Super important that you know where everything is and that you have it all gathered in one place so that it's easy for your loved ones, it's easy for you happen with your things. So having all of your documents, doctor information, financial advisor information, bank accounts, where they are, all that kind of stuff will streamline the process for you to plan for what you want to happen after you're gone, and also make it easier for your loved ones who just lost you.
Absolutely. And the second, to kind of add to that way to kind of help your loved ones in that scenario, is to execute your last will and testament. And a lot of people think that they don't necessarily need that because they don't have a lot of money or, things or whatever. But that's a misconception. If you have anything, if you have children, if you own property, anything at all, you do need to have a will in place. So if you're a family member of mine, you know that I follow you around like the Grim Reaper and bug you to get a will. I haven't got them all yet, but I'm gonna. My grandparents are in their 80s, and I finally got them to do it. But a will is super important. It's a super important document, and in that document, you're able to tell everyone where you want those things to go. So if you're single, married, have children, don't have children, it does not matter. Like I said, you need a will. Laura had mentioned children also. That's a big motivation for younger people. I think we see a lot from younger people that just think they don't have enough things accumulated yet. They don't have enough property. They don't have a lot of money, or somebody will take care of it, whatever. But you really do need to put that down, because you get to have a voice on where your children go. So that's usually kind of a driving factor when we work with younger individuals and couples. But you're able to direct your home, your money, your cars, your jewelry, your clothes, and any sentimental items. And you can kind of be general, and you can be flexible, and you can move things in and out in your lifetime. So it's not something that's necessarily just set in stone because you've created it, you know, at a young age, and then you can't change anything. So definitely, number 2, make sure that you have your last will and testament.
Exactly. And a lot of people think that they're done with estate planning when they get their last will and testament, sometimes, you know, just called a will. When they get that done, you're not actually finished with your estate planning. There are so many things else to consider. 3 other documents that we provide on a regular basis to people who are planning for what could possibly go wrong in the future are powers of attorney for healthcare and for your financial general kind of things and money, and a power of attorney for your healthcare, and a living will. And I'll talk about the living will first because I think that's one of the most important documents that you can have. Most of us have pretty strong feelings about what we want done to our bodies or not done to our bodies in case of like a really tragic accident, you know, car accident, whatever it might be. You arrive at the hospital and you're, you know, in bad shape or something like that. If you have a stroke, if you have, you know, different kinds of things like that. We've all watched those, I think we've all watched those TV dramas, those medical dramas where you see, you know, these horrible stories about, you know, family members and doctors making decisions about artificial, you know, like sticking an IV in you to do artificial hydration, or feeding tubes, or, you know, CPR, being kept alive by machines and things like that. And I'm messing with my hair a lot. Sorry about that. It's that kind of day. It's a lovely Tuesday outside. So we all have pretty strong feelings. At least I know I do, and most of the people and any of the clients that I've ever talked to have strong feelings about what they want a doctor and a hospital to do or to not do in those kinds of tragic situations. If you're not able to express those wishes yourself, then like verbally out loud, then you don't want to have your family members have to make those decisions for you. That's one of those things that it's hard to get past those kinds of things where a family member has to make the decision to not continue treatment or whatever it might be. So a living will is something that you sign and you get to tell a doctor, hospital, exactly what you want withheld from treatment if you're in a situation where there's no possibility of recovery. If you're brain dead, but you're still breathing or whatever that might be. Again, super happy subject, but we're trying to keep it all Halloween-y. So I don't know how to make that one fun. But the living will is one of the more important documents that I think you can have. And then those powers of attorney, healthcare and general is what it's called, but it's for finances and stuff. You need to have somebody who has the ability to get access to your bank accounts, or make decisions about your healthcare if they know what your wishes are and you don't have that living will, or if there's something that's outside of the scope of the living will, you know, maybe it's not like a life-saving, because the living will is more for life-saving techniques. Powers of attorney for healthcare are going to be things like for surgeries and that kind of stuff if you're not able to make that decision for yourself. And I'll just add in there, if you have like maybe adult children who have special needs, who are able to make those kinds of decisions, you know, these are kinds of things that you need to talk to an attorney about so that you can make decisions for them legally, because just because you're their parent doesn't mean that you automatically get to make decisions. So keep that in mind as well. So it's, I think that's kind of one of the biggest things is you want to make decisions for yourself with that living will, and you want to trust somebody with those powers of attorney who can make decisions for you on your healthcare or get access to things like your bank account so that they can make payments on your mortgage and, you know, pay your utility bills and all that kind of stuff so that you don't come back to some kind of, you know, horrible financial situation after you get out of the hospital. So keep that in mind. That's number 3. Number 4, that's me too.
Well, you.
It's still me. What's awesome is that I even wrote this. So, number 4 is making sure that you've updated your beneficiaries in any kind of accounts that you might have. And what we mean by that really is bank accounts. And life insurance policies and 401ks and those kinds of things. If they're payable on death, whatever it might be, you need to make sure that those beneficiaries are up to date. A lot of times you might be, maybe you're in a job for 20 years and you have your beneficiaries that you set in 2000, but it's now 2019 and you have kids, or you got a divorce from your spouse that you were married to at the time. You need to make sure that those people that you want your 401k plan and your, all your retirement accounts and your life insurance policies and things like that, you want to make sure that those are proper and updated, because, we handle divorces too here at MBL. And, you don't necessarily want your ex to get all your money just because you forgot to update your retirement plan. So keep that in mind. You also want to make sure that that if you have a trust, so some people have a trust along with the will and the other documents that you need for your estate planning. Your beneficiaries for a trust, or when you have a trust, your beneficiaries are going to be very different. It's not actually going to be a person. Your beneficiary is going to be the trust itself. So again, talk to your attorney about that and make sure that you've funded the trust by making sure that all of your beneficiary line items in those different policies are the trust instead of a particular person, because then, again, the point of a trust is to kind of avoid probate in some ways, and you can't avoid probate if the policy itself is not actually listed as going into the trust on, payable on death kind of thing. And I'm babbling a little bit, so I'm just going to let Brooke take it over because I've been coughing for about, 8 days, Brooke, and so I feel like
it's like longer, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple other things. What the fifth thing that you need to do is secure your digital accounts. Those are things like Facebook. If you go into some of your social media accounts, you can actually designate an individual that can have access in that situation. That's always something good to do. I think eventually they will delete your account, but you may want somebody to have control of that, especially if it's maybe a branding account or a business account. You want to make sure that you have a designated individual that has access, much like your bank accounts. And then shopping accounts, Amazon, someone that can have access, not just, giving passwords and stuff, but designate someone to have access to that, websites, anything important. Make sure that you have a backup that can have access upon your death. And then you want to talk to your loved ones. That's the last thing, number 6. You want to talk to your loved ones, not only about your wishes, so that way they understand, but you also want to talk to them about any of your documents that you created, especially if they are going to be handling your affairs, primarily if they are executing your will or your trust, or, you want them to be guardian of your children. Those are all really important conversations to have, so that way you can anticipate any issues with that individual in the future, and that they're more prepared, should the situation arise that they have to step in and actually do those things. So just to kind of recap, today, the 6 things that you need to do before you die are: 1, gather important contact information and documents, execute your last will and testament, complete a living will and powers of attorney, update your beneficiaries, secure your digital accounts, and talk to your loved ones. Next week, Laura is taking a much deserved and needed break. Hopefully she'll come back well. But I am going to be here solo. Sad that Laura's gone and sad that Halloween has passed. But I will be talking about business contracts next week and how you can tell if the contracts that you have are enforceable. So tune in next week for Legal Talk Tuesday right here at 11:30 Central. And thank you for tuning in today. Bye. Have a great week.